All right, so taking a look at how the meta seems to be breaking down. Again, this is from tournaments, but it's a decent representation of what you can expect to see on the ladder. As expected, we are seeing Dragon Link still in the top spot. Notice that there's no tier 1 deck though anymore, no clear cut above and beyond best deck. Dragon Link though, as expected, is very, very strong. And the reason it's strong is because it's the deck now that can play through different interruptions. And I've talked about this before, but if your deck has multiple ways to get its engine started, and again, if you watch DK's tournaments, you've seen this where a D-Link player going second plays 1, 2, 3 cards that all get disrupted, negated, whatever, and they still are able to extend with a good starter and then go full combo, because this deck is essentially a bunch of 1-card starters. And so that's why Dragon Link is most likely the most effective deck. Now, this deck does have its deficiencies. Like any combo deck, it loses to Max C, or, severely suffers under Max C. It suffers against Nibiru because they don't really put up an early negate. They have some critical choke points, but again, it's not like the Kashtira Punk deck where, you Ash Blossom the Rising Carp, and that usually kills their combo. You can, Ash Blossom the Dragon Ravine, but they probably have another way to extend, or they can always end on a decent board because they have low combo end boards, like ending on Hieratic Seal, as well as high-end combo boards where they end on like Baron and or Borreload Savage for like double negates and Borreland for another monster negate. That being said, though, this deck, if they don't get up the Borreload Savage and or the Baron, they are very susceptible to evenly matched. The unexplored wins from Flowandereeze can out the Borreland Dragon as well. So with Flowandereeze, you do have a number of options to deal with this deck, and the Bestials that they play lose a lot of utility against you as a Flowandereeze player as well. So, keep that in mind. Dragon Link is definitely beatable, but where you will suffer is because of stuff like this. Triple effect failure, triple Ash Blossom. Thankfully, no Imperm here, but as usual, as a Flowandereeze player, you have to try to be able to play through these hand traps. Again, Advent of Adventure helps you deal with Veiler. Against Ash Blossom, Call by the Grave is basically the only thing you've got, but it can be difficult. But hopefully it won't be too bad of a matchup. Let's say, just because again, you don't lose to Bestials. The Bestials have to banish from their own graveyard more or less, and if you set up a decent enough board, you can stifle their plays long enough that they just don't get their combo going, so to speak. All right, the back button isn't working, so we'll go back. Taking a look at Branded Despia. Nothing really to say here. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Despia is still doing Despia things. Yes, 1 branded fusion. I've covered this before. Not the end of the world, because if anything, it's actually more problematic that they put in other cards to supplement this, because now you have to deal with more monster negates and double Mercurier. You have to deal with quick effect, dynamic disruption in the Blazing Cartasia. They play Super Poly, which is super strong as well, obviously. So the deck is still very much around, and not having to rely on branded fusion makes it even stronger. That being said, if you think that you're running into these decks that really do rely on like kind of a very critical card like branded fusion, you can see they play 2 retribution just to get back their branded fusion. You could play or continue to play a DD Crow, which is actually what I ended up cutting, I think, for my second unexplored wins, to be honest, now that I think about it. But I just don't think DD Crow is that useful, but it definitely can help you deal with this kind of combination here where they try to constantly recycle their branded fusion with the retribution. So Branded still doing branded things, OTK potential, disruption, very fair deck in my opinion. I love to play against it just because it's kind of like a no BS deck and the combos aren't that long. Sword Soul Tenyi, good old reliable, solid deck all around, still with the Protos, which again doesn't really affect you. I mean, if they bring it out to the field on turn 2 and they call like wind or whatever, yes, it will destroy your wind monsters, but then you don't care about anything else because you don't special summon. So against Sword Soul, you do have a decent matchup. If you watch my channel, I've played against Sword Soul many times, and I think I pretty much always win actually, even when they put up like Chisao and Baron. You have to try to play around these negates, and as long as you can do that successfully, you should be a-okay. Sometimes you can't, and you just lose, and it is what it is. But for the most part, if you have a decent hand, you can usually play through these or bait them out. But this is a really solid deck. Again, problematic cards: Veiler, Imperms, Ash Blossoms, even Ghost Ogre is a problem, and Bell can be a problem in certain scenarios as well. But the Ghost Ogre is a problem because, if you activate map, they can Ghost Ogre pop it, which, it's happened to me before. And then, of course, they have the Tenyis. The Tenyis are good alternative ways to bypass things like Empin, bouncing it back to hand and so forth. So there's that to keep in mind as well. Very, very strong deck overall, though. Good option to play in Season 21. Moving on to Sprite now, we have, again, a pretty standard list. Very surprised that they're just trying to go with the same deck as pretty much last season, just with one less jet. And I guess technically it could work, but it's definitely less strong. One Swap Frog as well, subbing in the Dupe Frog. We've already discussed that on my other videos. But the list is pretty much the same. I don't think you'll see a lot of Sprite. This was definitely the most common deck I ran into in my run in Master Rank. Hopefully I won't see it as much moving forward. In Tier 3, Tearlaments, not really a threat anymore. They're not even Tearlaments really. They're a mishmash of various decks. So you got Punk in here, you've got Shadowhalls, you've got hero cards, you got Ishizu, you've got Tearlaments, and that's what the deck has become now. It's Chaos Ruler Turbo, where you just try to get this Chaos Ruler out and mill even more. And so the deck does take a consistency hit, and it tries to supplement that with better engine or alternative engine cards to boost its engine up. But I don't expect you'll see this deck around too much, and even if you do, it'll likely be manageable. Notice that this person is not even playing Baron, so their only real negate is hoping to mill a King of the Swamp and go into not Kaleido, but Grapha. So, not everyone's going to play Grapha too, so this deck is going to be easily dealt with like evenly matched. Or, again, if they put up their fusions, this person's not even playing Dragos Stapele, which is crazy. But you deal with all of their fusions too. You don't care about Winda, you don't care about Rukalos. Kaleido Heart, yes, technically if it gets summoned and activates its effects, it affects every deck in the game, so not a big deal there, but you can play through this no problem with Flowandereeze. The deck that you have to worry about, and probably what will become the best deck of the format, is Naturia Runic. The reason, it seems that way on paper. Every time I look at this deck, I'm just like, this deck can answer everything. It has almost no weakness. People are already hitting Master 1 with it. That's crazy. Look at that. Wow. We take those. Yeah. It is a very powerful deck for several reasons. One, it doesn't lose to combo-heavy decks that put up a huge amount of monster disruption because you have a Runic Engine. Runic Engine is extremely strong for that. Two, the Runic cards in and of themselves can technically deal with everything, barring in mind that you can draw them. You've got MST, you've got Imperm, you've got, I don't even know, any destruction card. You've got a Searcher, and then you just have every utility to special summon monsters basically to protect yourself and generate even more advantage with Searching Fountain, Reoccurring Fountain, etc. And then you have the Naturia engine, which essentially is just an engine to help you facilitate synchros in a turbo manner. So you turbo out Stardust Stardust Charge Warrior, draw a card, flip that over into a Baron by bringing back like Camellia, and then sinking a 4 and a 6 into the Baron, or Chanying, which obviously synergizes really well with the Runic cards. You just have utility for everything. The deck is not unbeatable, but yeah, this deck is definitely one of the best decks of the format. It's actually crazy. If I go back and if we click on something like Dragon Link, it's being used in the meta tournaments, but man, Naturia Runic, Master 1, Master 1, Master 1. Oh, these are in August, sorry. So yeah, two Master 1s already in the first 5 days of September. That's crazy. I haven't even played a match yet. But that just goes to show you guys exactly what I'm saying. This deck is really strong. I'm not going to cover these other decks. I've already made a video on Punk. Labyrinth is moving up, as well as Flowandereeze, and these are my two favorite decks. Sorry, one of the other reasons Naturia is good, same reason why Labyrinth and Flowandereeze is good, is that they can play around Maxi as well. I love decks that play around Maxi. But even more, I love decks that don't have to use their extra deck as much or don't rely on their extra deck. Naturia definitely needs its extra deck to win, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But, you know, if you go up against Kashtira and they're Diablosis and unicorning you, ripping away your cards, and I think I posted a match where I was using Kashtira and I faced it up against a runic player, I think it was Naturia runic, and I ripped their 2 copies of Huggin, and basically they couldn't like do anything after that, right? So there are ways that this deck can be beat by very common things in the meta. Like, you don't even have to be facing against Kashtira. Everybody runs like Fenrir's, and some people are even running like the small Kashtira package of, you know, the triple unicorn, 1 birth, 2 Fenrir, right? So keep that in mind. Labyrinth, in my opinion, a very top tier deck. Second place, top four, pretty good. Master 1 in September, Master 1 in September. Whoa, this guy hit it on the second day. That's crazy. Look at this. 4 Master 1s in the first week of September. I told you guys Labyrinth was going to be good. I told you guys that. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I don't need to go over this. I already went over this before, but yeah, Labyrinth is good. And finally, let's take a look at Flowandereeze. Back in the tier list. That's crazy. Somebody won with it. That's wild, bro. 2 people already hit Master 1 with the deck. These guys are on a very different list than me. 1 Fossil Dyna, 1 Gilf to clear out a back row card. Obviously playing the Small World package if you're playing Barrier Statue. Okay. And then the extra deck doesn't matter, like I said. Wait a minute. What the? Why are these like all over the place? Huh? Why are September's down below? Let's take a look at this a little bit more in detail. August 31st, September. Okay. Yeah, still 2 master. You know, some people hit Master 5 with it already. But let's take a look at this deck here. This guy's playing the Featherstorm, which is another option. So again, if you wanted to not play Fossil Dyna, like I talked about in the deck list video, you can sub it out for other options. So again, Fossil Dyna is an option. This guy's playing triple Jack in the hand. So if you're somebody who's like, I hate bricking with Flowandereeze, I always brick. I mean, I always find a way to play out of it somehow. But if I encounter myself bricking a lot, maybe 3 Jack in the hand is the way you go. Still playing the double shifter though, and this person is not playing the Apex. So that's interesting. But, you know, they hit Master 1, so all more power to 60 cards. We're not even going to bother with that. That's in a tournament. That's not relevant for ladder. This person running Maxi and running a Blackwing. Only hit Master 5, though. The Book of Moons, the Dark Ruler. So, again, like I talked about, running a Dark Ruler instead. They're running Books and Dark Ruler, which I did run for a bit in Season 20 or 19. I don't remember. Double Ryza, so again, more options that I talked about. And the Barrier Statue, Small World Tech, yeah, you can use it. I'm not a big fan of it, but if you want, you can use it. And they're opting to do the Double Street 1 token, where I do the reverse. So interesting there. This person is on the Fossil Dyna, also on the Double Ryza, instead of the Snowl, which in hindsight might actually be better. They're on the Book of Eclipse, just like me, the double called by. So you can see our lists are more or less the same. They're on triple imperm though, which is a little awkward with triple evenly matched. You don't want to be running too many traps, I don't think. But hey, if it's working for them, then more power to them. But yeah, you can see that there's a bunch of different tech options that you can use. 46 cards, like this is wild, bro. How do you go over 40 with this deck? Is 1 random copy of D-Fissure. Like, wow, these are tournaments though, right? So, and maybe they're planning for a meta. We're not going to look at the 60 card version. This guy's still running Fissure and Duster. That's interesting. And DD Crow. This is from August, though, when Tier Elements was still relevant. So, yeah, probably not too relevant now. But that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully, this meta review, provided some insight into why Flowandereeze might actually be pretty decent for this meta, given that, all the top decks are all basically, they're running Maxi, they're combo decks. They focus on, putting out big boards, things that you can clean up with evenly matched if they don't put out a lot of negates. The only thing you have to really worry about is Naturia runic. But even against runic, like, you want them to banish your cards, because I've had games before, and you've probably seen it on my channel, where they'll runic something and I'll end up banishing like a Robina or an Eaglin, and my hand is bricked with like a toucan in hand or something, and they just unbrick my hand for me by banishing those birds, right? So it can actually help you. So against pretty much everything in the format right now, I think Flowandereeze is in a decent place. You will struggle against Labyrinth just because back row deck, right? You can play through it. The unexplored winds definitely helps if you go first, but going second, it's a real challenge. But yeah, aside from that, I mean, it is what it is. Best of luck in season 21. Again, make sure you're subscribed if you want to see my gameplay with Flowandereeze. I might try. I don't know if I really care about like win rate and stuff anymore. I might just opt to try a bunch of different things, even if I lose, because I just can't be bothered to keep try-harding all the time. Life is too stressful for that. But that's gonna wrap it up for this video. If you made it this far, thank you again for watching. Quantum is out.